I was Southern Baptist. I had accepted Christ in my life as a Southern Baptist, had taken piano lessons, and my mother had this bright idea to go up to the youth choir director and volunteer my services. She simply said, "Oh, Lynné will play for the choir." And that was the beginning of the blessing, the beginning of the journey. From that point on, I was fully vested and fully in because I knew that that's where the Lord wanted me to be, and that's where He wanted me to grow, and that's where He wanted me to serve. So from that point on, we became a group called the Sunshine Singers. And we didn't just sing in our church, but we traveled and sang throughout the Baptist Convention. So my start came because my mother was the one that said, my child needs to do as I have taught her to do. She needs to serve. She needs to give of her gifts. And that I did. I went to Catholic University. I studied piano. I studied voice, and I studied organ. And on one occasion, in my first early years of studying organ, a friend of mine was at the parish that I'm currently at, and I subbed for her, not knowing at this point I was still Southern Baptist, but she asked me to play for her because she wanted to spend time with her family on Thanksgiving. And I said, of course. I was bold, courageous, and I sat there and I read off of a script that she had handwritten, not knowing anything about liturgy. She then moved, when she came back, she moved to another parish and retired at another parish. And simply said, well, Lynné, they're looking for an organist. And my statements were, but you don't understand, I'm not Catholic. And so it was at St. Anthony of Padua Catholic Church where I was invited to come in. I was hired as the organist. And it couldn't have been the better part of my life. I had no church home because I couldn't go to my home church because I was always at St. Anthony's. And I remember feeling like a nomad. I had no pillow to lay my head on. And for a young lady of faith, that was just not the way in which I could live in this world as a woman of God. It was St. Anthony's that loved me, that didn't get angry when I didn't know how to do something in the liturgy because I knew nothing about liturgy, wrapped their arms around me and assured that I understood that I was enough and that I was sent to St. Anthony's for a purpose and for a reason. The first time it happened within 10, 11 years of me being at St. Anthony's. I was the organist and the director of the traditional choir for the choir that I was working with. Fred Hewitt, our director. We had a rehearsal. He had a fire in his home, and he pulled out the sofa. And when he came out, he had a massive heart attack. And here I was left and asked to conduct and work with the traditional choir. A year later, the founder of our gospel choir, same type of scenario, had a stroke, passed on, made his transition, and I was asked to work with the gospel choir. Well, you might say, well, of course you know gospel music. I did not grow up in churches where we sang gospel music. We sang choral music, hymns, anthems. I knew nothing about gospel music. And so when I was asked to work with the gospel choir, I had to learn the repertoire. I had to find people who could teach me the repertoire. It became difficult when, being classically trained, I'm asked to play something as simple without music as Amazing Grace, and not having the capabilities to do that when I had a bachelor's and master's in piano performance. And I can remember very strongly, rehearsals were kind of strange because it was always going back to but we never learned it like this before. And I can recall driving somewhere and going home, as a matter of fact. And I just said to the Lord, I can't do this. This is not in my wheelhouse. Tell me what to do. And He said to me in that inner voice, you are enough. I will help you go through this. All will be well. And at that instant, I knew all would be well. Now, it was all right. The second time was during COVID. Our churches were changing. We had people who were coming into the church, into our space, because many of our churches were closed. And they had done live stream, but people needed community. And I can remember my church when I first came to St. Anthony's was a predominantly African American Catholic church. And so people looked like me, they served like me, it just reminded me of home. At one point, all of the parishioners who were there, many of them were not coming to church. They didn't feel safe. And I would look amongst the parishioners that were attending Mass. They didn't look like me. And my family, whether they looked like me or not, they weren't coming to church. I was so lonely. I was beside myself. And once again, I said, God, I'm not here to worship with my family. My family, I feel abandoned. I feel lost, and I know I have to be patient and walk this through, and I know all will be well, for I must be still. And I cried many a tear, because I thought, if this is what this is going to look like, I can't stay here. I don't want to stay here. My family is not here, both black and white. The family that I know, that I've known for over almost 40 years, is not here. What am I to do? And the Lord said, be still. You are enough. All will be well. And it was that instance that I stopped and I thought, okay, what is the game plan? Let me start getting some phone calls. So I started calling the elders and saying, I missed you. I miss you. When are you coming back? What can I do? I'm just checking on you, making sure all is well. The Lord made that right. And I am so thankful that I did not walk away, because it was enough to make me feel, after almost 41 years, to leave. I'm so thankful that I listened in 2 times of valleys in my life in ministry, that all I did was stopped, listened to the voice of God, and stayed put. At the deepest and the darkest times of my life, it has been, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I am not alone. That has been the scripture that has always been the compass for my life. For I know that there's always light at the tunnel. Every day when I finish my prayers, and in the morning and the evening, I pray throughout the day, I always ask the Lord to use me as a vessel of light, hope, grace, mercy, compassion, humility, courage, empathy, all that is of the Lord. And He is tried and true. I can do all things who strengthens me. There's a song that says, God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And so He has used someone who was not even born Catholic. And it didn't make any difference. I was not looking to be Catholic. I was looking to be faithful. So if God wanted to send me anywhere, it didn't matter. I needed to grow and plant myself, be planted where I know I could be a blessing to all. And that my prayers of being a vessel of light, love, hope, grace, mercy, it does not hurt to be kind to people. It does not hurt to love people. It is what we are ordained to do through our answer, our saying yes to the Lord's will.